Councillor Crichton, if you can mute your camera and your microphone until the meeting starts, please, because we're now live on YouTube. Thank you.
Declan there. Done.
Thank you. Good evening, Laura. It's Claire Buchanan from Democratic Services. Could I ask you to just mute your camera? Lovely, thank you. Good evening, Councillor Cutler. It's Claire Buchanan from Democratic Services. Just to let you know, we know we have a few minutes left, but we are quorate, so we'll be ready to start at 6. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, Chair. Just to let you know, we are now live on YouTube and ready to go in the next minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. We'll make a start on the stroke of 6, just to be pedantic. So good evening, everyone. Please can I welcome everyone to this Winchester City Council meeting of the West of Waterlooville Forum. Time is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the 4th of March 2025. My name is Councillor Neil Cutler, Chairperson of the Forum. This meeting is being held virtually and is being live streamed from the Council's YouTube channel, and the recording will also be available after the meeting. Subtitles can be switched on, and advice on how to turn these on is set out on our website. First of all, please can I ask everyone present in this virtual meeting that your microphones remain muted and your camera is turned off while you're not addressing the meeting, as this will reduce background noise and avoid any unintentional disturbances. Members and officers, where appropriate for each item, please indicate that you wish to speak or to raise a point of order or explanation by raising your hand using the hand icon on your screen, and I will invite you to then speak at the appropriate time. Each member will be invited to speak in turn, therefore I would encourage all members to keep their contributions as clear and as concise as possible. Finally, we have a number of officers present this evening. Please can I ask that you introduce yourself as you speak. We'll move on to the agenda. Item 2, apologies. Claire, do we have any apologies?
We do, thank you, Chair. So apologies for absence received from Councillor Briggs from Hampshire County Council, from Chris Williams and Leah Hampton from Granger, Rose Chapman from Winchester City Council, and Steve Weaver from Havant Borough Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 3, disclosures of interest.
There's a hand raised, Chair, by Councillor Langford-Smith.
Councillor Langford-Smith, would you? Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to give my apologies. I need to leave the meeting at 6:45 as I've got a neighbourhood plan steering group meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Paula.
you.
That's fine. Right. We'll move disclosures of interest. To receive any disclosures of interest from members or officers on matters to be discussed. Are there any disclosures? No. Okay.
No.
We'll move on to item 4, the minutes of the meeting held on 20th of October. Are these minutes agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Matters arising. I don't see anything on those minutes that won't come up in this meeting, but if there's anything that anyone wishes to raise, Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a question of protocol. In the last minutes, we had a report from the arts programme. I've received through the mail an arts progress report for February. Is that not going to be looked at today because it doesn't appear on the agenda?
Well, we have Emmeline on the call, so what we could do is, given that we haven't got it on the agenda, we could at this point ask her. I'll just take Councillor Crichton's question and then ask Emmeline if she can just comment on her report. Okay, Councillor Crichton.
I'm slightly concerned that there are no representatives from Granger present at the meeting, as there are a number of items in relation to the reports that I wanted to raise and some further matters. I'm not sure what opportunity we will have for pursuing these.
I think Councillor Crichton, if we will discuss the report, and if we've got things we want to take to Granger, I will write to them and meet them. That I think is the only process that we can go ahead. I know you have regular meetings with them, and I know there are a number of concerns that need to be raised. I have one or two. I think it's very disappointing that no one from Granger is at this meeting, but there we are.
Thank you, Chairman.
So in terms of the arts panel, Emmeline, given that we haven't an agenda item on that, would you like to comment on your update, your February update?
Yeah, no worries. So we're making good progress. We've got most of the artists are now appointed and have started doing their engagement on site. Various bits and pieces kind of working towards having some of the workshops happening in March and April sort of times. And then we'll be led by the community on where that takes us, but very happy to take any questions if there's anything specific people would like to know.
You will have received the arts report. Are there any questions, David? Councillor Crichton, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've noticed in the reports we've had from the arts programme that there have been consultations with the community group in Newlands, but as far as I'm aware, there's been none whatsoever with the parish council of late. Is that the strategy that you're intending to pursue, or do you actually intend to talk to the parish council in more detail about what's planned?
The community engagement hasn't really begun in too much detail just yet. It's been the conversations with the community group have been around what activity is already happening that we might be able to tap into. But by all means, once we start those conversations, they're completely open. So, and if you want a specific session with our community engagement, we can, of course, we can sort that out.
Are you happy with that response, Councillor Crichton?
Yes, thank you. We can take that up later on. It was simply clarification that I needed. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Emmeline. It's helpful that you've dropped into the meeting in order to answer those questions, and good luck with the engagement and the next process with the arts panel. We will put it on the agenda for the next meeting, where we will hopefully have some further progress to report. Thank you, Emily. Item 5 is public participation. Are there any? I don't think any members of the public have registered to speak.
No one's registered, Chair. No.
Okay, we will move on then. So we reached the Granger progress report, which again, as I say, it's very unfortunate, and Councillor Crichton has raised the same issue, that the Granger report is not, there's no one here to talk to that report. I presume everyone will have had a chance to go through it. I think the best bet is for us to say, are there points that anyone wishes to raise from that report? I have one in particular, but Councillor Crichton first.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of points in here. You may also want to raise this, but we are concerned that there's been no indication at the moment of what's likely to happen with the district centre, in particular in relation to the community centre. I might also add at this point, even though it's not Granger's issue, as I'm a member of the patient group at the Vine, I have to report back that at the moment there is no indication, they have no information whatsoever about the status of the health centre. And that's something that I think we may need to pursue with the commissioning organisation to find out exactly where we are with that, as it's really been on hold for some time. But the main concerns I've got are in relation, first of all, to the 2 allotment sets, or cultivation plots, as we're now referring to them, because it gives us slightly more control. Granger had indicated to us that rather than transfer them to the parish council or anybody else, they wish to keep control of them and lease them to us. I'm not certain, first of all, if that's compatible with the terms of the Section 106 agreement, nor am I certain what purpose they would have in doing that. I appreciate that part of the problem is we are not yet party to the 106 agreement. That was supposed to be done on a second deed of variation to adders, but given that the first deed of variation, which has been hanging around for about 2 years now, is still not complete, the process is more complicated. But those are the main concerns that we have just now. It's really the fact that, yes, we do hold regular meetings with Granger. Granger's attitude appears to be somewhat more complex in view of their understanding of the likely effects of local government reorganisation. And there seems to be, if I can put it as politely as possible, an unwillingness to consider transferring assets to the parish council on the grounds that there may be a new organisation in place in a few years' time to take that. So I think it's something that I would appreciate if you, Chair, can take up with them to find out exactly how we're going to proceed on this.
Okay, thanks for that, David. Councillor Reid, do you want to make your points as well, and then I can respond?
Thank you, Chair. The one thing I'm a little concerned of in phase 4, the infrastructure aims to commence work on site in summer 2025. The next meeting theoretically will mean that this work will have already started, and it's really just getting a better confirmation of some of these dates because of our meetings are only 3 per year. The other one is the southern access point. Again, there's questions to be asked on that because that is a crucial element to the opening up of the site in the south, which originally, when we passed the west of Waterlooville, that was where all the development traffic was coming from, straight down the motorway, straight down Purbrook Way, and straight into the site that way. However, that has obviously not happened. Yeah, it's just one or two little answers really that I would have liked assurance on prior to basically our next meeting, which hopefully they will have started, but I'm not 100% certain they will. I just have a fear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm noting down the questions, and we'll take them to Granger. As I said, I think it's really disappointing that they're not here to answer the questions, because that's the whole point of the forum. My particular concern on this is the point about having spoken to planning officers at both councillors and suggesting that they don't need to consult any further consultation on the town centre, which is entirely against the views that I think we've all had, that there should be some consultation. Yes, I mean, it's, the point about discussions have been had with both local authorities, I presume it was authorities, a spelling mistake, regarding a public consultation. It was determined that this wouldn't be required. Now, I find that very, very frustrating that planning officers may have said that it's not required. It's not about whether it's required, it's about whether it would be sensible. And I don't know if anybody else has got any comments about that, but there's something I wish to raise with both the Winchester planners and with Granger. Councillor Crichton again.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to, as you'll be aware, there has been a considerable frustration over the failure of the Joint Planning Committee to meet for, I think, now 4 years. I was advised by Councillor Bryan, who is Chair of Planning at Havant, that it is likely that a meeting of the Joint Planning Committee may be called. I'm not sure whether you've been advised about this. And he wasn't sure exactly what for, but he was looking it up. My understanding would be that it would be for the Blue Star site, which of course is in Havant, access through our area, and will have a major impact or cumulative impact on traffic coming in and out of the development. So I'm not sure if you've heard anything about it, but again, I'd appreciate if you could follow up with the planning departments and the planning committees to find out whether this in fact is correct, or we're simply going to be put off again.
Yep, I'm happy to add this to my list of things to follow up. Councillor Reid.
Sorry, Chairman, that was mainly in the same vein that I was going to.
Okay. I will follow that up as well. And we have Louise Weaver.
Good evening, I'm Louise Weaver. I look after developer contributions at Havant Borough Council. When you mention about consultation in respect of the sort of local centre plans, I was aware, I don't think this has changed, is that we felt as an authority, due to the length of time that had elapsed since the original consultation, at the very least, councillors from our authority and indeed Winchester should be brought up to speed on what the original consultation was and how plans had evolved since the original consultation. So we felt that there was some level of consultation needed.
Well, that's really useful, because I think there is Winchester's policy generally. I know Julie's there, so Julie can comment about Winchester's policy, and then I can either agree or disagree. So Julie, would you like to comment? Are you there? Yes.
Sorry, Chair, can you hear me? I can't get my camera to come on, so I apologise for that. The case officer isn't here tonight, so she's on holiday this week, but I can't imagine I'm hoping that we wouldn't say there's no consultation needed. I'll obviously follow that up. What I could answer in terms of the questions both from Councillor Crichton and Councillor Reid are that yes, we do think we'll need a joint committee at some point this year. The list that Rose has given me is, I think she said Proxima Park, plot 500. That will need a planning committee, joint committee decision. And within Havant, she thinks that phase 8 will need to go, and we're not ready yet to call a committee and convene one, but we will be doing so when we're sort of ready to do that. And of course, the invites will go out. We'll agree it with the chair of the joint committee across both Winchester and Havant members. And we're trying to align those to bring them together so as we can host one joint meeting. Normally it's at Havant's offices, isn't it? So that's certainly something on the cards this year, Chair.
Oh, thank you for that, Julie. I unfortunately I missed about half of what you said, but I'm sure everybody else heard it. For some reason, my internet failed briefly. Did everyone else hear that? Did I have some indication?
Yes.
We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. I only caught. I sort of got the beginning and the end, but missed the middle. But I think I got the gist. Thank you, Julie. That's really helpful. Yeah, I mean, it will be one of those things on my list of, in terms of pre-consultation on the town plan, the local centre. We have a policy within Winchester that anything major affecting communities should have maybe not the full master plan approach, but it's always better from a pre-planning point of view to have had some consultation. So I will take that back to Granger. Councillor Crichton.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to that, very early consultation that's been done in relation to the district centre was 2 or 3 years ago, when planners on behalf of Granger made a presentation for their concept for the community centre, and that was an urban barn approach, which looked quite nice. But since then, both Granger's representatives and myself have been over to Eastleigh to have a look at one of the community centres there. And our view was that something quite different might be required. Now, obviously, that would have to be presented as a proposal and consulted. So whilst I know you're going to follow it up, generally, that particular point, and it's obviously of interest to us as it would have our parish offices, assuming we're still around, that is something we really would like to see as quickly as possible, at least the conceptual ideas for it.
Yeah, I think there is an element here about one, understanding what we mean by consultation and what Granger think they mean by consultation. Our view very much as a council in Winchester has been that consultation isn't about presenting plans and then saying, what do you think about them? It's that there is an element of pre-consultation before those plans come about, and I don't think Granger quite have picked that one up. So that's something I think we need to go back to them about, and that from your I mean, the paper actually suggests that the only consultation was done in 2019. Time moves on. It's 6 years. I think we do need some more, but we also need to be getting things moving on the village centre, because it is. I'm increasingly having questions from residents about why there are no facilities yet in the development. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chairman. Just going back to what Julie said, Julie very much knows my opinion with regards to all major applications on a site that is a shared responsibility between two authorities. And that was why the joint planning committee was put together, so we didn't get rather a mismatch of buildings and forms of buildings in the past. And I'm rather saddened that in the last 4 or 5 years, it has failed to undertake that task.
Yeah, I think you've frequently made your views very clear on the joint planning committee, and I do think we need to move forward and use it, in particular in the context of the village centre, simply because our next presentation is about Waterlooville town centre regeneration, and there are synergies between having a village centre fairly short distance away from the town centre, and we do need to make sure that the two things are compatible. You know, that's why it's really important, I think, for Havant councillors to have a role in this, as well as, even though the village centre is entirely in the Winchester district. Are there anything else that anyone wishes to raise on the Granger report? Because I think I've got quite a long list, and we'll go back to them on that long list. Is there anything else that anyone wishes to raise?
No further hands, Chair.
Okay, well, thanks for your contributions. We'll move on to item 7, which is the Waterlooville Public Realms Improvement, a presentation from Wayne Leighton and Stuart Palmer and Laura Jones. If you'd like to go ahead with your presentation, please.
Thanks. Just the two of us today,
Right.
Laura and I. I think
All
Laura,
right.
you're going to share the presentation, aren't you?
Thanks, Wayne.
I am. I'm just going to share my screen. Right, can everybody see that okay?
All good,
Yeah.
thanks, Laura.
Cool, no problem.
Just need to put it on slideshow mode if you can. Well, we can start talking to it anyway. So we did quite a comprehensive update at the last meeting. We talked about pop-up shop, the vacant shop scheme, work that's happening around the Waterlooville Business Association, street art and events. This really is the bit where we're moving to kind of the next phase now. And last week, when the council approved their budget, we had a line in for public realm improvements of around about £150,000. But following the consultation we did with members of the public through the master plan project, it became clear that the aspiration for members of the public that had fed in is that they wanted to see a proper regeneration within the town centre and a much improved public realm. So we put together some initial designs, and it was looking like we needed probably around in the region of about 800,000 in order to do that piece of public realm improvement between the bandstand and down to where the new Exchange restaurant is. Just by doing that and just by making this public, we've already had a really positive response from landowners within Waterlooville, because it looks like the council and the wider population really care about their high street and they want to see things happen. So that investment has sent out a message, and we know, well, we can't talk to it, but we're expecting to see some quite exciting news coming out from some of the landowners of people that potentially could set up within the high street very shortly. But as I say, I can't talk to that at the moment because it's commercially sensitive. But that investment has really sent a message, and a number of people I've spoken to since last week when that's gone public have said, you know, this is the thing that really needed to happen in Waterlooville, some serious investment. So all of the quick win stuff we've done has been really positive and started to create a buzz around the town centre. But at the end of the day, there's only so much us as a local authority can do. And the one thing we can do is improve the public realm. And we're working with Hampshire colleagues to achieve that. So we came up with some rough designs, and Laura's going to kind of take you through the kind of design process and where we've got to.
Cool, thank you. So I think one of the first things to talk about really is that throughout the master plan there were some really clear messages from public consultation and engaging with local businesses and stuff that they wanted to actually see.
Can everyone hear Laura? Oh.
Yeah.
No,
sorry.
Freezing in and out, Laura.
Oh, do I? Okay. That might be my signal. Stop me if it's annoying. So when we've discussed this with people, I think there's a really clear messaging in terms of more green space is needed. We really want people to dwell in the town centre for longer. So that nice seating kind of needs to be part of these improvements, where people can spend more time, buy their lunch, sit down, eat, and dwell in the town centre, and then hopefully shop. The shops will be more accessible. We've looked at different ways in making sure that the market needs to remain. That was quite a clear message. People like the market day. They want to be able to see events still happen in the town centre. So before we came up with the design concepts of this, we really listened to the bits that were important about our current town centre. So we did come up with four different options to start with, and then we added a fifth option in, which is a bit of an amalgamation of 1 to 4. Where we've been looking at the central piece, which is kind of the junction as you go into Wellington Way, to make that into some kind of courtyard area where people can sit. Hopefully that creates some shade as well. But it's really just about making, like Wayne has said, the bit that goes from the bandstand really down to the exchange is the piece that we need to be looking at in terms of paving. If you look kind of from the bandstand up towards the Heroes, that bit's still relatively new, and now that's been jet washed. There's glitter in those paving slabs if you look close enough, and we really don't need to do anything that side. So we're really just looking at making this side look better. So we came up with options. We did some public face-to-face consultation in the town centre. We got people to vote on their preferred options, write comments down of the bits that they thought were important to them. And we also did a Go Vocal page. So we've had an online consultation where people have been able to vote as well. But that has ended now. That ended on the 28th of February. So we've collated those votes, and 43% have gone for one particular option, which we'll announce probably in the next couple of days. So it's now going to be that feasibility study. We'll look to see what's affordable. We'll look to see what fits for purpose. We'll look to see what's future proof. We need to think about the maintenance of it and how we can continue that. So there's really just a few ideas, and I'm hoping that most of you will have looked online and voted for your favourite one anyway. I think that's pretty much it, unless you think I've missed anything, Wayne.
No, just to say that, you know, the response we've had from members of the public has been really positive. We, Laura and I, got to stand in the high street a couple of Saturdays ago in the freezing cold, and we were literally talking to people the whole time we were there. And I think, you know, we think this is going to go down well, and I think we've hit the right note. And the most important slide in all of this is probably the first one, which is you told us this, so that's therefore we've done this, and I think they've appreciated that support. And that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you, Wayne. I'd like to ask the Vice Chair, Councillor Harrison, if she'd like to make any comment. She did invite me to come and stand out in the cold for the day on that Saturday, and unfortunately I was otherwise engaged, but I knew she was going, so any comment, Antonia, you'd like to make?
Chair, you missed a fantastic day and an opportunity to meet lots of the locals. Yes, we as the council are absolutely delighted to put this investment behind Waterlooville Town Centre. The 150,000 that went into the vacant shop scheme was a successful start. We are very grateful and recognizant of the previous administration's commitment to the town centre, and obviously the success of the vacant shop scheme. And then this is important to go further. It's not just about filling a few shops. Because those shops were, let me just come on camera, because those shops have been taken up, that then led to other shopkeepers deciding that they had the confidence to come and open up shops, even though they didn't get a grant. So we're delighted that that has taken off in the town. But now, yes, we need to go to the next stage. And we are fed up with hearing, well, it's all very well having a few new shops, but the place is still ugly. You know, it's so grey, it's so drab. So yes, we know that because we live here. And this is why we're putting this money in. And we're more than delighted to put what is a significant investment into the town. We have the money to do it, and we are really committed and looking forward to seeing the new town. It's going to be a journey, But we know that once we have a better looking town, that's going to attract footfall, it's going to attract people to come in and make it not just a place to pop in and do a quick errand, but a place to sit, to stay, to enjoy, to meet people, go to one of the many eateries which will by then be open, and to really invite people in. Waterlooville has not been a destination to invite your friends to, but now little by little it's becoming that place. And as the place becomes more and more popular, of course that will attract new shops. And it's just a case of watch this space. We know that it takes a while, but we're very confident about the town centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonia. Councillor Crichton, your hand is first.
Thank you, Chairman. First, put my old hat on as the former chairman of the Waterlooville Community Forum, and thank the officers, Wayne and your team, the present councillors, and Gwen Robinson, particularly from the last administration, for what's being done. We had an uphill battle to try and do anything in Waterlooville for some time, and it's a particular pleasure to see what's happening now. And I think the results that we've got so far are excellent. I called into the exchange yesterday to say hello to them. They are very pleased with what's going on. I've got some very good ideas. And there's the green shoots, if you like, of what's happening there. One question, I'm totally in support of what you're planning to do in that section of the London Road. Does that mean then that you're intending to move the market up to the top end, which is going to be left free? Or can you actually still have the stalls in amongst what you're planning to do?
No, so in all of the designs, it took account of the fact that we will have a market, and we also want to be able to hold events in the high street and things like the car show. Oh, forgot to mention the next Waterlooville car show is on the 24th of May, I believe, Laura, if you can confirm. It's a great day, so come along.
Yeah, that's correct.
You're free.
Thanks, Wayne. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chairman. Many thanks. The report is a major step in the right direction. Waterlooville, as you quite rightly say, has been running down for many, many years. I just have a few questions, if I may. The clarification of the status, is it still a highway?
I'm going to say yes.
So
it comes under Hampshire Highways, so I think it is still a highway. But whether it's, I don't know the technicalities, Councillor Reid.
Chairman, excuse me butting in on that, but as far as I know, the A3 has never been declassified as a road, which is why when we want to do anything in there, we have to have permission from Hampshire Highways to put up things like streetlights. So it was my recommendation that, if possible, that we could actually have that changed, as I see no likelihood of ever reopening it as a major road again.
But they might want to put a tram down there. You never know.
it's got a few lines down there, let's put it that way. The market question's already been asked, because the only access for vehicles is actually from the old crossroads, Waterlooville Crossroads, isn't it? Lloyd's Bank. You can't put a vehicle into the yard at any other point in that development at all.
I think you can get in through the Heroes as well.
Can you?
You can, yeah. You could.
Oh, okay. The other one was the ongoing maintenance. Once you've done all this work, and obviously if there's green areas, they are going to require a regular maintenance element to it. And presumably that's going to be factored into your budgets in the future. And the only other one I've got is the planting of trees in hard landscape. That worries me a little bit because trees grow and they'll need to move out. I've seen so often where hard landscapers go right up against the tree, and of course the tree grows and causes damage to the hard landscaping. So it's just something to bear in mind, I think, more than anything else. Thank you.
So yeah, we'll take that into account when we're doing the design. Part of the thing around trees in the high street is obviously we want it to be green, but we're looking at trees that allow a sight line all the way down the high street, because one of the big problems you've got is with antisocial behaviour, and we put CCTV in there. Unfortunately, during the summer, as it is, we end up having blind spots because of the trees, so it's going to be designed in such a way you will be able to see. In terms of the maintenance issue, we have thought about that. When we had the meeting, the public meeting back in June, we asked people to sign up to do a community gardening project, because the planters that are currently in the boulevard were planted by the community. What we want to do is as well pay for it to be done when it's initially done, and where we put a sign up sheet for people who wanted to be involved in that community garden, and we had 48 people sign up to it. If we get a quarter of those, or even even less than that, just 5 people will probably be impactful. And the other thing we've seen with the ones in the boulevard is that once they got planted in, people stopped using as bins so much, because they look like they were planters and not big bins.
Yeah, now, I know in my own particular area, which is Denmead, we started the In Bloom. We joined into that national thing, and for a long time, all of the green planting in and around the centre of Denmead was actually done by volunteers. Denmead In Bloom, and that only finished, I think, 2 years ago, and the parish council took on the role from then on. But thank you.
Yeah, and just on that In Bloom thing, the Waterlooville Business Association, that's their kind of primary thing that they want to deliver. And in June, we're currently helping them work through the licensing thing, but it's not something that the council are going to do. It's the business association who are going to run with it, which is going to be great. I don't want to steal their funder, so I won't say too much about it, but it's going to be good.
Super, thank you.
Well, thanks for your contribution. Are there any other questions for Wayne and Laura? I have one. In some of the earlier consultations, there was further discussion about how we improve the sort of access from the MDA, so to make it inviting for residents from there. Has there been any progress on that?
So Hampshire, and I shouldn't really talk for them, but my understanding is that crossing between where the Shell garage is and Archbold Newsagents, which is quite a heavily trafficked part to get into the high street from Bearwood, if you're coming from, Newlands, if you're coming from the London Road side, they're looking at feasibility of what you can do there, because you really do take your life into your hands when you cross over that road, because it's on that busy roundabout. They're working on a feasibility at the moment, but I haven't seen what the output of that is. And then I think in the consultation we talked about lowering the speed limit. And apologies, the bit that goes past the bus, the fire station, or what that could look like. Yeah. To be honest, it's 2 controlled crossings there anyway, so I'm not quite sure what that would add to it. So I can't talk to it in any great detail at the moment.
There was some discussion about actually the road has the effect of separating, but as soon as you cross the road, it's still not very inviting. As to what could be done, as the car park through the community centre and through up into the town centre. Does any of that come into the public realm work that you're talking about?
No, it won't in this phase, but it is something which was highlighted in the master plan. I think we need to probably do the things which are most impactful whilst we still can.
Yeah, I recognise that it is a question of phasing. I just wouldn't want that one forgotten as part of from the forum's point of view and representing that area. I think it's making it attractive for people to walk across and get to the centre, because I think that's part of the plan, almost a planning problem that we have with the MDA, is that it's not hugely accessible. To walk across to the rest of Waterlooville. Okay, is there anything else that anyone wishes to raise on this subject? I think it's a really exciting project. Oh, Gwen, Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. I think I missed the last meeting, but I have talked before about the Arts Council. The last time I had a meeting, when we had a meeting, they were there, and I know Evelyn's on here, but I'm really keen to see them somehow working with our regen team, getting involved with some form of sculpture, whatever it is, something within Waterlooville, because we keep talking about, you know, Newlands, you know, being Waterlooville, which it is. I know a lot of the land near, Chair, is in Winchester, but you know, it is located so that the people, you know, will see themselves as people from Waterlooville. So, and I still don't seem to really get any firm commitment that the Arts Council
Arts, sorry, I think you mean the arts programme. Yeah.
Sorry, yes, absolutely. The arts programme, you know, are considering getting involved with the regeneration work.
Okay, well, Emmeline's on the call. She'll have heard what you've said. I will raise that with the arts panel or the arts group, and we will see what engagement there needs to be across with the regen team, and make sure there is some engagement there. I think there has been some engagement, but it's whether. I think there's the broader issue of what we mean by the arts, and I know there are differences of opinion. So, but there is progress there, and we have always emphasised that it's important to develop these links. I think the view, you know, and it's very much my view, and I think many of the Winchester councillors in the area, is the reality is that people who live in the MDA feel they live in Waterlooville. They're not interested in our boundaries that we work to, and we need to make sure that they're as integrated as possible. And I think we've made tremendous progress over the last couple of years. I mean, we all talk to each other a lot more than we used to, and we've you know, sort of strongly supported the regen, and I think residents have strongly supported the regen as well, and taken part, which is quite important. So I'm really pleased to see the progress, and really appreciate the fact that Wayne and his team have engaged very much with the MDA and the whole Newlands area, even though it's not in, you know, we're not living in silos. We're trying to make it work across boundaries, which is, I think, really important. So thanks for that, and thanks for your intervention, Gwen.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So thank you, Wayne, for your and Laura for your presentation, and you're always welcome at the forum, because we're really interested in what you're doing, and so that's really helpful. I'll move on to the next agenda item now, which is the report from Newlands Parish Council. We have a brief report from the council, and a significant amount of that, which is one of the reasons why I didn't really want to get into the conversation earlier on, which could have been a matter arising, is about land transfers and where and what we do with open space. I was asked at the last parish council to look into some of these aspects of things, and from what I understand it, the agreement to transfer the land in where the play park is in the 17 acres of country park, it is getting closer. It's taken a long time, but I think Councillor Crichton informed me that he felt that it was getting closer as well, and the report suggests so as well. So David, did you want to make any comment on that?
Chairman, yes, you see the underlying theme of my report is frustration, quite frankly, because the items on most of those items were actually on my last report, and no progress has been made on them at all. It is more than 10 years since the last properties were built in Wellington Park, and we're no closer yet to the road adoption or to finishing it off. Most of that is down to the problem with the 104 agreement. And I'm not criticising Taylor Wimpey directly on this. I speak to the implementation manager on a regular basis, and I know he's as frustrated as we are over it. But we need to find some way to move it forward. That I take the point. My understanding is that each time Taylor Wimpey and Southern Water come close to an agreement, Southern Water changed the parameters on it. At least that's the feedback I get. So we're hoping that will be done. After that, we have the ongoing issue of the open space within the Havant part of Wellington Park, where I can appreciate the reluctance of the council to take it on until the 104 agreement is in place, but also the need to get Taylor Wimpey to actually do some maintenance on it before it is in a transferable state. And also, as you'll notice from my report, the area next to the old Park Farm stream, before you go into Proxima Park, there is an issue of Taylor Wimpey's own making, where they planted trees over the sewage easements, and they have promised to rectify that and have to do it before they can transfer that land first to Winchester City Council and then to the parish. But so far no action has been taken, and we had hoped that the new tree planting would have been done last year so that we can make a progress with it. So again, I would appreciate any pressure that can be put on Taylor Wimpey to at least do the things that they have the ability to do at this stage, and also to keep us up to date as much as possible with the things that they don't have a direct impact on. And finally, in terms of land, most of the issues in relation to land transfer and who does what, that can move on. The big issue is, and always has been, the town park, because of course half of it lies in Havant and half of it lies in Winchester. And those of you who've been members of the forum for some time will remember that years ago the forum agreed that the whole of it should be managed as one, that it should be done by Winchester, and that was before the parish, in fact. And I think we've got to the point now where we really need to get all the parties, both district councils, plus Granger, plus the parish council, together to come up with a formal agreement on how we do manage that, so we can then start to address some of the problems that are very difficult to address at the moment, simply because there is no proper formalisation of ownership. So those are the main things that we have. One thing that I'm not sure if anybody's aware of, but the industrial land in Wellington Park, which, as you know, has got a bit stagnant because of Dicentra's inability to actually get it done. I believe that they have either have or about to put a planning application in to do some work on the south plot, which will effectively reset the planning application, which otherwise would have run out at the end of this year. It is still their intention to try and do something with it, whether directly or to sell it on with extant planning permission. But that, I'm afraid, is the only thing that I have to report on the land there. I mean, I'll take questions from anybody who wants to ask on those.
Thank you. Are there any questions from forum members to David? Councillor Harrison.
So, Councillor Crichton, what do we do about the transfer to Havant, given that both the leader of Havant and the leader of Winchester are in agreement and you're in agreement? How do we move this forward?
As I've said, I think it's now a case of the two primary councils agreeing with Granger, to which we will take a role as well, of setting up a meeting to make a formal agreement. Bear in mind the land still all belongs to Granger, it's just that part of it is in one borough, one's in another. There are various options that we have looked at. If we make the assumption or assume it's still valid that it will be managed by a Winchester body, then the land that's within Havant, there are two options on it. One is that that land remains within the possession of Havant Borough Council and is managed on a contract basis or a management basis, and the other is it is transferred. And of course, there are plenty of examples we can give, particularly locally. The Billies Lake section, which is in Denmead and Winchester, which of course was gifted to Havant Borough Council by the Borough family. So I think it's something that we need to do. And I wasn't going to refer to the elephant in the room till any other business, which of course is local government reorganisation. So I think we really want to get concentrated on this and see whether we can get a resolution. And I might add also that also applies to the question of the public open space within the Havant part of the development, where Havant actually agreed more than 6 years ago that their 106 agreement required them to take it on.
So I think David, this is something that we need to try to we can't resolve it in the forum, but we recognise that that it's a key importance. And I think one of the things you raised earlier about your meeting with Granger and their reaction to local government reorganisation has made them reluctant to consider things, and I think we need to disabuse them of that.
Yes, exactly.
And let them recognise that it'll be for local government to sort out where things go in the longer term, not for Granger to wait, because it's not going to make any difference to them in that respect. I see that Councillor Porter it has raised her hand. I'm quite happy for her to speak as the cabinet member for planning in Winchester. So
I'm just coming to say I've listened, David. I think you've got 2 or 3 sticky problems there, particularly the S104 and the problem with the park. I think let's tackle the park one first, because I think that's something that we as 2 authorities are in control of, and we should be able to find a way through that one. So let's tackle that, have a really good go on that one. I can reassure you we'll have a go. All right.
Thank you, much appreciated.
And I think the problem, I think we need to look at and see whether the sticking points are genuine sticking points, because I think in both cases, and probably with the 104, it is a genuine sticking point. I think the 106 variation is being negotiated, but it's not really a sticking point to getting an agreement in principle, and that's one of the things that we can move on with. Section 106 seem to take an inordinate amount of time, and I have spoken to the chief legal officer at Winchester, and he doesn't understand that we need to move on this. So
no, I think it's I've got that one on the list now, so that's really helpful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Jackie. Yeah, that's very useful.
Is there anything? It would be good to talk to Havant about it as well, so we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Yes,
okay.
We appreciate that.
Is there anything else that any members of the forum would like to raise with the parish council? Because this is an opportunity to understand how the parish council works for those that aren't used to parish councils, and to question the chair if you have anything to raise. No, in which case I'll move on to the final agenda item, which is Councillor Harrison, did you want to raise on the previous item or on any other business?
Just about parish, just to say that I attended Newlands Parish Council along with a couple of other Havant councillors, really, well, obviously with my interest in Newlands, but also to see how parish councils operate. It was eye-opening, and we were offered support from the vice chair of Newlands, who set up the Denmead Parish Council, because if LGR goes ahead, we will probably be looking at parish councils and indeed a town council for Waterlooville. So we need all the advice we can get on that.
Thank you for that. We can take you to lots of parishes if you really want to spend evenings at parish councils. There are, I have 4 in my ward, and there's the Denmead Parish Council, there's Southwark, there's Borehunt, there's Wickham. We have plenty. So if you'd like to attend some others, we can set that up. Councillor Reid, you have your hands up.
This was really to go on to the next item, but just picking up on the last item, if anybody wants to know about parish councils, I would suggest that they go to HALC and talk to them, because they're the ones who've got the overall knowledge. And of course, one's got to remember, and I said this at the parish council meeting in Newlands, parish and town councils are non-political. When they go down the political line, catastrophe rules. So that was just what I want to say. If you're moving on to the next item, Chairman, before we get to the elephant in the room.
I'll just check that David's not responding to anything on parishes before we move on to the next item. Councillor Crichton, was it a parish meeting, a comment, or any other business?
It's an any other business one.
Okay, well, I better let Mike go first.
The elephant in the room, so thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to get in front of the elephant. Well, behind the elephant, because that can be a rather sticky job. The one thing that we've got to bear in mind is the 106 agreement for Newlands is currently paying for a bus service, the D1 and D2, which runs through Newlands, as well as going on to Denmead and Hambledon. I understand from sources that one of the services, which is the Hambledon one, is going to be axed, which will make quite a lot of difference as to what bus services we've got. We've only got a part-time bus service because it doesn't run on Sundays and it doesn't run after 5:30 in the evening anyway. So we need somewhere along the line, and it may not be this forum that does it, but we need to look at how we can try to protect a local bus service, one running through Newlands, and obviously the other two parishes which are close proximity.
Thank you for that. If you talk about my ward, there are no buses in Southwark and Borehunt, if you remember, as well. So yes, it's always an issue. Yes, we can look at whether that is something we can look at on another agenda item. Councillor Crichton, you wanted to raise something under any other business, which I presume is local government reorganisation.
So before I do that, if I can just add to the comments that Councillor Reid made, one of the concerns we have is that with the opening of the second primary school in September and the opening of the link road, Marylsmoor Avenue, all the way around, we have asked Granger if there is any intention of running a bus route along there. Now, unfortunately, it's pretty well out of their hands. And that's simply an example of the issues that we have, where we will have a large amount of school traffic coming along there, and people will have no option but to drive along there because there is no public transport to it. So it's a much wider issue than simply the fact that we have this 106 supported bus service, which again looks as it's going to be cut back a bit. It's the whole future of traffic or public transport within the development, which is going to become more of an issue. And as you'll be aware, as and when we get the health centre, that was discussed at a meeting when Rob Humby was the county transport lead, as to what was going to happen in terms of getting people in and out. So that's something that we need to bear in mind as an ongoing one. But the point I wanted to raise was this morning, and unfortunately Councillor Langford-Smith has gone now, because she was also there. Southern parishes held an emergency meeting to discuss the question of local government reorganisation and to agree on our position on it. And the one thing that I think everybody understands now, and I believe both of the local councils do, is that if in fact there is an agreement that the existing district boundaries are not retained in terms of the new structure once we get to it, it would be logical for Newlands to become part of Waterlooville. That, of course, is something that the parish council is agreed on, but of course to do that we would need to consult our residents to make sure that they agreed with it. But I simply wanted to say that that, as far as we're concerned, is on the table. So in one sense, we're quite happy to do ourselves out of a job as an independent parish council if we can then become part of something that I've personally been working for many years, which is to have a Waterlooville Town Council, a genuine one, representing the area.
Well, thank you for that, David. I think I can give a little bit more of an update on that. I spoke to the Southern Parishes meeting several weeks ago, which triggered the discussion that they had today. The one thing that perhaps it's really important that the parishes have their say of where they would prefer to be, but I don't think, you know, and it can be part of the submission that is made to government, but ultimately the process is so fast that I'm not sure to what extent or how much time we've got for consultation on this. Councillor Porter, you have your hand raised.
I do, and I apologise for coming back in again. I appreciate that Southwark hasn't got a starting bus service, but I do take Councillor Reid's point. And I don't know if you're aware that this week there is 13+ million pounds coming from the bus service improvement back to the county council. So it may be an opportunity to talk to your county councillor and see if there is anything coming to your area, because surely Waterlooville and west of Waterlooville does deserve something that feels like a bus service. It's a large conurbation. So I would suggest you talk to your county councillor and just see where that's going, because it sounds as if it's specifically for the sort of thing you're talking about there. It's going through on tomorrow afternoon, I think. Maybe, yeah, tomorrow afternoon or Thursday.
Councillor Harrison. Thank you, Councillor Porter.
That's good to hear, Councillor Porter, because there was a county councillor who attended the parish council, and when the subject of the buses was raised, the attitude was really, oh well, the local bus companies have to be profitable or they won't run a bus. And I thought, well, with all the thousands of people living in Newlands, they deserve better than that. So yes, let's pursue getting a decent bus service.
I agree.
Okay, well, that's thank you for that information, and I do think we need to continue to campaign on buses more broadly. In terms of local government reorganisation, things are moving at a pace, and a submission will have to be prepared and agreed by the end of next week. And I know that Councillor Todd, leader of Winchester, is chairing a group of all the leaders of district and the unitary authorities to try to come to common ground with an approach, a common response to government. And I think two things are absolutely clear: that the submission will not have lines on maps at this stage. The first stage submission will not have lines on maps because it's too early for that. But what it will do, we would hope, is it will highlight the fact that without funding, whatever structure of unitaries you have will fail, because the savings that even the projected savings, which probably won't be achieved, cannot deal with the huge deficits that Hampshire County Council have, that Southampton has, and Portsmouth have made it very clear that if they took on some of those liabilities, which they would be taking on if some of the districts merged with Portsmouth, their finances would fall over. So I think that's one of the representations we'll make. I think that there is a strong chance that there will be an argument for 4 unitaries rather than 3, although there are still those that suggest 3. That means that you cannot achieve the 500,000 population, because there's 1.9 million in the Hampshire Solent area. But other than that, I think it is crucial that the parishes make their views known. And as we go through the summer, from a Winchester perspective, how we can improve the position of parishes in the event of unitarisation will be something that we will be considering. And I think, you know, with Councillor Harrison's intervention about looking at parishing, we ought to work together as much as possible to make sure that the best local options are put in place if we're going to be part of larger unitaries. But as I say, things are moving at such a rate at the moment that the interim submission that has to go in, I think on the 19th of March, 20th of March, will have to be agreed, hopefully collectively agreed, because if there's no agreement, government will impose it. So that is my brief update, and I'd hope to be able to answer any questions that you might have, but we could end up having a very long discussion about hypotheticals here, which I don't really want to get into. So it's very useful that Newlands Parish Council have taken a view. Again, it's whether the agreement to split any of the districts actually comes out. I think what the interim submission will say is that it is an option, but it's not necessarily the, you know, it would be it would suggest that one probably need to delay the process to a certain extent because of the governance reviews that would be needed to change those boundaries. Councillor Crichton.
Just very briefly, I hope that in the submission it's pointed out that the reason for a local government reorganisation is based on the fact that the last one was 50 years ago, and the structure, which started off relatively simply under the Heath government, has now become very complex with all sorts of things. But equally, the district boundaries were drawn up 50 years ago as well. So the case for modifying them or reconsidering them is actually part of the overall argument. And if the government wishes to separate those two, in other words, retain district boundaries which are out of date, but at the same time change the structure because it's out of date, that needs to be pointed out to them as being totally illogical.
Yeah, I mean, I think that will probably be part of the submission, but I can't say I'm not involved in those discussions. I've just hear the report back. I mean, one of the principles that's being looked at is the word, and I think the expression is split or chip, that there may be that the process of chipping small bits off authorities to regularise certain aspects, for example, the fact that West of Waterlooville MDA is in Waterlooville, and whether you move the parish, may be simpler than sort of major splits in districts. But again, the argument then comes down to, do you do it on a parish basis or do you do it on a ward basis? But once you start reducing, and parish basis is probably the best option because it's the smallest structure, but and allows more flexibility. But that complicates things on the ward side of things. Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chairman. I think with regard to Winchester's boundaries, there are two areas, as you quite rightly know, is that where the development is taking part across boundary. One is the Whiteley development, and the other one, obviously, is the Newlands. Now, the one thing that the government made very, very clear right at the beginning, and it doesn't mean to say it won't alter, was that there will be no boundary changes because that would require PERDA, of which they do not wish to participate. So quite where we go from there, I don't know. I agree that Waterlooville, in a sense, geographically, it's within the Newlands, is within the Waterlooville area, undoubtedly. But again, this original statement, no boundary changes. And until such time as they change that, which will mean going into PERDA, because boundary changes always go into PERDA, as do per elections, as you know. So at the moment, we've got to work on the basis that the boundaries will stay exactly as they are. You know, they may change their minds.
I think some of the initial, I mean, again, it was the initial 500,000 was fairly hard, but then it became softened of you have to make a good case. Similarly with boundary changes, you have to make a really good case, but it's not necessarily precluded entirely. So I think that first submission looks as though it will be putting together the view that yes, this can happen. These are the things we will have to consider. Right, we have one hand from Gillian Harris. Could
Hello, yeah.
Hi.
Sorry, yes, I'm Gillian Harris. I'm Cabinet Lead for Regeneration in Havant Council. I'm a standing deputy for this meeting for Council Affairs. That's why I'm here. I was just going to say, though, that I was at a meeting with Sharon Taylor, the Minister, who's leading on the reorganisation. And the issue over the boundary changes is that the Boundary Commission are on standby, and they do now realise that there will be some requests. I mean, they have to be robust reasons, but you know, I think boundary changes are not out of the question, but obviously it would slow the process down. So that's what I want to just
I think that's the point that has sort of emerged in these discussions, is that
yes,
if you want to do it quickly,
I mean, I know
it's very difficult.
It has softened up at government level, the process. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that. Are there any other comments that anyone wishes to make? Well, thank you all for attending. I think that's. Is there any other business that anyone wishes to raise first before I completely close it? And if there's anything else that anyone wishes to raise, I have a long list of things to go to Granger with, and Councillor Porter and I will work together to try and pull together a meeting to discuss how we can move things on in terms of open spaces. So I hope that by the time we come to the July forum, we will have something very substantial. So thank you all for attending, and I declare the meeting closed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
That one okay?
All good. Thank you very much, Chair, for that. I'm just finishing the stream now. I have to wait half a minute or so.
Okay, righto. I'll leave and
enjoy the rest of your evening, Councillor.
Yeah, and you. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.